Have you ever felt life hit you like a rogue wave, grief, setbacks, or just the grind of chasing your dreams? You're not alone. The ancient Stoics, like Marcus Aurelius, faced the same storms and found a way to stand tall, not by controlling the chaos, but by mastering their response. In this video, I'll show you how Stoicism can be your anchor, practical tools to face adversity, build unshakable routines, and protect what matters most, from your finances to your deepest beliefs. Stick with me to discover how to turn life's challenges into your greatest strength. Hit subscribe, join our journey, and let's build a life of purpose together. 1. Your long-term goals. Your life is a battlefield, not in the literal sense, though for some, like the veterans I've met, it once was, but in the daily grind of choices, setbacks, and pressures that test your soul. Stoicism isn't about sitting cross-legged in a toga, pondering the universe. It's about standing tall when the world throws punches. A diagnosis that stops you cold, a job loss that guts your savings, or the ache of a loved one gone too soon. Marcus Aurelius, emperor and warrior, wrote in his Meditations, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." That's the core of it. You can't control the cancer, the pink slip, or the empty chair at the dinner table, but you can control how you face them. Take the story of a friend, a former Marine turned entrepreneur, who lost his startup to a bad deal. He could have drowned in self-pity, plenty do. Instead, he sat down with a pen and paper, listing what he could control, his skills, his network, his next step. He leaned on Epictetus. There is only one way to happiness, and that is to cease worrying about things which are beyond the power of our will. He didn't waste energy cursing the betrayal. He rebuilt, step by gritty step, because he knew whining doesn't win wars. Ask yourself, what's in my control right now? If you're staring down a failure, can you control your next action? Your attitude? Start there. It's not sexy, but it's solid ground. Now let's talk about the fire of adversity. Life's trials are like a forge, brutal, but they shape you. Seneca said, "A gem cannot be polished without friction, nor a man perfected without trials." Think of a young woman I know, a teacher in her 20s who got hit with chronic illness. The pain stole her energy, her plans, her social life. She could have let it define her, but she didn't. She started small. 5 minutes of stretching a day, a gratitude journal to anchor her mind, a podcast to keep her soul fed. She told me, "I can't control the pain, but I can control what I build around it." That's Stoicism in action, not ignoring the fire, but using it to temper your resolve. What's the fire in your life right now? How can you use it to forge something stronger? 4 young Americans chasing dreams? Maybe you're hustling for that first big break or clawing your way out of student debt. Stoicism offers a compass. Jocko Willink, a Navy SEAL turned leadership guru, echoes this with his mantra, "Discipline equals freedom." You want that startup, that degree, that peace of mind? It's not about talent or luck. It's about showing up daily, even when the wind of doubt howls in your face. When you're tempted to scroll X for hours or binge another show, pause. Ask, is this moving me toward my goal, or am I just dodging the hard work? The Stoics didn't have smartphones, but they knew distraction. Epictetus warned, if you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid with regard to external things. Let others chase likes, you chase what lasts. Loss hits us all, and it's where Stoicism shines. I think of a CEO I met, a titan in Silicon Valley who lost his son to addiction. The grief was a tidal wave, but he leaned on Marcus. What need is there to weep over parts of life? The whole of it calls for tears. He didn't suppress the pain, he felt it deeply, but he refused to let it paralyze him. He started a foundation, channeling his loss into purpose. You don't need to be a CEO to do this. If you're grieving, try this. Write a letter to the person you lost, not to send, but to clarify what they meant to you. Then ask, how can I honor them with one small action today? It could be a kind word to a stranger, a step toward a goal they believed in. Purpose doesn't erase pain, but it gives it a place to rest. The modern world is a storm, endless notifications, economic uncertainty, cultural noise. Stoicism is your anchor. Ryan Holiday, a writer who's brought Stoicism to millions, says, "The obstacle is the way." That job rejection? It's not a wall, it's a detour to something better. That anxiety keeping you up at 3 a.m.? It's a signal to examine what you're clinging to. Try this. When panic hits, breathe deeply for 1 minute, then list 3 things you're grateful for. It's not a cure-all, but it's a start. It grounds you in what's real, not the stories your mind spins. What's one small step you can take today to face your storm? For the older crowd, maybe you're reflecting on a life half-lived, wondering if you've done enough. Stoicism doesn't let you wallow. Seneca wrote, As long as you live, keep learning how to live. I know a retired teacher, 60s, who felt irrelevant after leaving the classroom. She started volunteering, mentoring kids online, and found purpose again. She told me, "I thought my best days were behind me, but I was wrong. I just had to choose to keep going." What's one thing you've stopped doing that you could start again? Your age isn't a cage, it's a vantage point. Stoicism isn't about being cold or detached. It's about feeling everything, joy, pain, fear, and choosing how to respond. It's about waking up each day knowing the world owes you nothing, but you owe yourself everything. So, grab a notebook, take a walk, or just sit still for 5 minutes. Ask, what's one choice I can make today to live truer to myself? Then do it. That's the Stoic way, simple, fierce, and yours for the taking. 2. Your daily routines. Your daily routines are your armor, forged in the quiet moments before the world wakes up or after it's gone to sleep. They're not just habits, they're the scaffolding that holds you steady when life's chaos hits like a rogue wave. The Stoics understood this. Seneca said, "We should every night call ourselves to an account. What infirmity have I mastered today? What passions opposed? What temptation resisted?" That's what your morning coffee ritual, your evening journal, your 6 a.m. run are for, building a fortress of discipline to weather the storms of doubt, grief, or failure. Picture a young tech worker in San Francisco, grinding through 80-hour weeks, feeling like life's a treadmill set too fast. She started waking at 5 a.m. to journal, not because it's trendy, but because those 15 minutes of scribbling thoughts let her wrestle with anxiety before it wrestled her. When her coworkers mocked her early mornings, she didn't argue. She smiled, nodded, and kept her rituals sacred. Epictetus would approve, "No person is free who is not master of themselves." Your routines are your domain, don't let others' opinions breach the walls. What's one small ritual you could start tomorrow to claim mastery over your day? Think of life as a river, sometimes calm, sometimes a torrent. Routines are the stones you place to cross it. I know a veteran who came back from deployment carrying PTSD like a shadow. He found solace in a nightly routine, 10 minutes of deep breathing, a walk under the stars, and writing one thing he was grateful for. It wasn't a cure, but it was a lifeline. As Marcus Aurelius wrote, "When you arise in the morning, think of what a privilege it is to be alive, to think, to enjoy, to love." That gratitude anchored him, not because it erased the pain, but because it gave him a reason to keep moving. What's one moment in your day you could carve out to remind yourself why you're still here? For young Americans, routines are your rebellion against a world that demands your attention 24/7. Angela Duckworth, the psychologist who wrote Grit, talks about the power of deliberate practice, consistent, focused effort. That's Stoicism in disguise. Maybe you're a college student drowning in deadlines. Try this. Set aside 20 minutes each morning to plan your day, no phone, just pen and paper. List 3 priorities, not 10. It's not about doing everything, it's about doing what matters. When distractions, social media, drama, FOMO, come knocking, you've got a plan to keep them at bay. What's one distraction you can cut out to make space for a routine that serves you? Older folks, you're not off the hook. Retirement or a quieter life doesn't mean coasting. I met a 70-year-old nurse who, after losing her husband, felt unmoored. She started a simple evening routine, reading a page of Seneca, sipping tea, and writing a letter to her younger self about what she'd learned. It gave her purpose, a way to process grief without drowning in it. Seneca's words guided her: "You have to persevere and fortify your pertinacity until the will to good becomes a disposition to good." Her routine wasn't just habit, it was transformation. What's one routine you could build to reconnect with your purpose? The modern world is a whirlwind: notifications, expectations, noise. Your routines are your shield. Take a page from Admiral William McRaven, who said in his famous "Make Your Bed" speech, "If you want to change the world, start off by making your bed." It's not about the bed, it's about starting the day with a win. If you're facing a health scare, maybe it's 5 minutes of stretching to feel alive in your body. If you're reeling from a career setback, maybe it's 10 minutes of reading to sharpen your mind. These acts aren't grand, but they're yours. They're proof you're still in the fight. When someone asks, "What's your secret to staying so calm?" don't spill your routine. Protect it like a treasure. Try this: "Oh, I just find little ways to keep my head clear." What keeps you grounded? It's polite, it's vague, and it keeps your sanctuary intact. Stoicism teaches us to guard what's ours: our focus, our peace, our time. What's one routine you can commit to this week to build your inner fortress? Start small, but start now. That's how you turn chaos into calm, one deliberate step at a time. 3. Your personal struggles. Your personal struggles are your private war, fought in the quiet corners of your heart where no one else gets a front row seat. Life's battles, whether it's the weight of debt, the sting of a broken relationship, or the shadow of self-doubt, aren't meant to be paraded. They're yours to face like a lone soldier on a windswept hill. Epictetus nailed it. There is only one way to happiness, and that is to cease worrying about things which are beyond the power of our will. Broadcasting your pain invites others to weigh in, and not everyone's got your back. Some will judge, others will twist your vulnerability into a weapon. Stoicism teaches you to hold your ground, not by denying the struggle but by choosing how you fight it. Take a single mom I know working 2 jobs, barely keeping the lights on. She didn't vent to her co-workers about the bills piling up like a house of cards. Instead, she leaned on Seneca's wisdom: we suffer more often in imagination than in reality. She sat down each night, budgeting with brutal honesty, cutting what wasn't essential and focusing on one bill at a time. It wasn't glamorous, but it was control. When a nosy neighbor asked why she seemed stressed, she deflected, "Just juggling life, you know? How's your garden coming along?" That kept her struggle hers and her dignity intact. What's one struggle you're facing that you can tackle with a small, deliberate step today? Life's like a wildfire, unpredictable, consuming, but also a chance to clear the underbrush for new growth. I think of a young graphic designer, laid off after pouring his soul into a startup that tanked. The rejection burned, but he didn't post his despair on X or beg for sympathy. He turned to Marcus Aurelius: the impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. He used the setback as fuel, spending an hour each day learning new design software, reaching out to 1 new contact a week. 6 months later, he landed a better gig. The lesson? Your struggles don't define you, your response does. What's one obstacle in your life that you could reframe as a chance to grow? For those in their 20s, navigating the pressure cooker of modern America, sky-high rent, career uncertainty, the endless scroll of comparison on social media, Stoicism is your shield. Brené Brown, the vulnerability expert, says, "Owning our story and loving ourselves through that process is the bravest thing we'll ever do." But owning doesn't mean oversharing. If you're wrestling with self-doubt, don't hand it to others to dissect. Try this. Each evening, write down one thing you did well, no matter how small. It could be finishing a task or just getting out of bed when depression whispered to stay down. That's your private victory, your proof you're still in the ring. What's one small win you can claim today to build your confidence? Older Americans, you've seen your share of battles, maybe a health scare or the loss of someone who was your rock. Stoicism doesn't ask you to bury the pain, it asks you to face it with courage. I met a retired firefighter who lost his wife to cancer. The grief was a chasm, but he didn't let it swallow him. He leaned on Seneca: "No evil is great which is the last evil of all." He started volunteering at a hospice, not to distract himself but to give his pain purpose. When friends pried, he'd say, "I'm just taking it one day at a time. How about you?" That kept his struggle sacred. How can you channel your pain into something that honors what you've lost? When the world feels like a storm, bills, breakups, or just the grind of getting older, Stoicism reminds you to guard your inner citadel. General James Mattis, a modern Stoic, once said, "You are not your circumstances." If anxiety's creeping in, try box breathing. Inhale for 4, hold for 4, exhale for 4, repeat. It's simple, it's free, and it's yours. If someone asks, "You okay?" don't spill your soul. Say, "Thanks for asking, just working through some things." What's good with you? It's kind, it's smooth, and it keeps your battle private. What's one struggle you can face today by focusing only on what you control? That's the Stoic way: quiet, fierce, and unapologetically yours. 4. Your financial situation. Your financial situation is your personal forge, where every decision tempers your future like steel in a fire. Money isn't just numbers in a bank account, it's a battlefield where fear, hope, and discipline clash. The Stoics knew this even in their time. Epictetus said, "Wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants." In today's America, with its relentless pressure to spend, flex, or keep up, that wisdom cuts deep. Whether you're a young adult drowning in student loans or a seasoned professional eyeing retirement, your finances are yours to guard. Sharing them opens the door to envy, judgment, or advice that's more noise than help. Consider a barista in her 20s, scraping by in a city where rent eats half her paycheck. She didn't tell her friends she was stashing $50 a month into a savings app, quietly building an emergency fund. When they teased her for skipping brunch, she didn't explain. She leaned on Seneca: "It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more, that is poor." Instead of venting about her tight budget, she focused on what she controlled. Cutting one streaming subscription, brewing coffee at home, tracking every dollar. That discipline became her rebellion against a culture screaming to spend. What's one small financial choice you can make today to align with your values? Money is a river. Sometimes it flows steady, sometimes it dries up. I know a middle-aged accountant who got blindsided by a divorce that gutted his savings. The shame was heavy, but he didn't broadcast it. He turned to Marcus Aurelius, "Reject your sense of injury and the injury itself disappears." He sat down with a spreadsheet, slashed non-essentials, and took a side gig teaching online. It wasn't about pride, it was about progress. When a colleague asked why he seemed stretched thin, he shrugged, "Just keeping the ship afloat." How do you manage your budget? That deflection kept his focus on the work, not the gossip. What's one financial setback you can face head-on by focusing on what's in your control? For young Americans, the financial world feels like a storm. Rising costs, gig economy hustle, the temptation to YOLO your paycheck on crypto or concerts. Stoicism offers clarity. Entrepreneur Naval Ravikant, a modern voice of wisdom, says, "Desire is a contract you make with yourself to be unhappy until you get what you want." Want to break that contract? Try this. For 1 week, track every penny you spend. No judgment, just data. Then ask, does this spending reflect who I want to be? Maybe you cut one impulse buy and redirect that cash to a skill-building course. That's not deprivation, it's power. For those further along, maybe staring down medical bills or a kid's college tuition, Stoicism reminds you to stay grounded. I met a retired teacher who faced a health scare that drained her nest egg. She didn't panic or complain to her book club. She channeled Seneca, "A man is as miserable as he thinks he is." She renegotiated medical bills, sold and used furniture, and started a small tutoring side hustle. When a friend pried about her finances, she said, "I'm just making it work." What's your trick for stretching $1? That kept her dignity and her focus intact. What's one financial worry you can address with a single, practical step this week? The world's noise, ads, influencers, even well-meaning friends, can drown out your financial clarity. Stoicism is your anchor. General Stanley McChrystal once said, "Leadership is a choice, not a position." Your financial life is the same. Leadership is choosing discipline over distraction. If you're climbing out of debt, try the snowball method. Pay off the smallest balance first for a quick win, then roll that payment into the next debt. If someone asks, "How's money going?" don't spill your plan. Say, "I'm keeping it tight." What's your money strategy? It's smooth, it's private, and it keeps you in the driver's seat. What's one financial goal you can protect by keeping it close and acting on it today? That's the Stoic way, quietly building wealth not just in your wallet but in your soul. 5. Your deepest beliefs. Your deepest beliefs are the roots of your soul, anchoring you through life's tempests, grief, betrayal, or the quiet ache of questioning your place in the world. They're not for public display, not because they're weak, but because they're sacred. Seneca said, "If you live in harmony with nature, you will never be poor. If you live according to what others think, you will never be rich." In a world of X debates and 24/7 news cycles, sharing your spiritual convictions or core values can light a fuse. Suddenly you're defending your soul instead of nurturing it. Stoicism teaches you to hold those roots close, tending to them in private so they grow deep and strong. Picture a young nurse, grappling with her faith after seeing too many patients slip away. She didn't post her doubts online or debate them at the break room table. Instead, she carved out 10 minutes each night to read, reflect, and write what grounded her. Maybe a verse, maybe a quote from Marcus Aurelius. Look within. Within is the fountain of good, and it will ever bubble up, if you will ever dig. Those moments rebuilt her compass, not by shouting her beliefs, but by living them quietly. When a coworker pressed her on her views, she smiled, "I'm still sorting it out." What keeps you going? That kept her peace intact. What's one belief you hold that you can nurture in private today? Life's a crucible, and your beliefs are the metal tested in its heat. I know a tech founder in his 40s who lost his brother to a sudden heart attack. The loss shook his worldview, made him question what he valued, success, legacy, or something deeper. He didn't air this at board meetings or on podcasts. He leaned on Epictetus, "You become what you give your attention to." He started volunteering at a community center, not to preach but to live his belief in service. When friends asked why he seemed different, he deflected, "Just trying to do some good." What's driving you these days? That shielded his inner work from scrutiny. What's one value you can act on today, even in a small way, to strengthen your core? For young Americans caught in the crossfire of cultural shouting matches, Stoicism offers a way to stay true without getting burned. Author Ryan Holiday writes, "You don't have to have an opinion on everything. That's freedom." Maybe you're wrestling with political divides or spiritual questions in a world that demands you pick a side. Don't. Try this. Spend 15 minutes a day reflecting on one core belief. Write it down, ask why it matters. If it's compassion, help a stranger. If it's integrity, keep a promise. When someone baits you into a hot-button debate, sidestep. I'm still thinking it through. What's your perspective? You stay grounded, they keep talking. What's one belief you can quietly live out instead of arguing about? For those further along, maybe facing the weight of a life half-lived or a health scare that's forced you to rethink everything, Stoicism is your guide. I met a retired librarian, 60s, whose cancer diagnosis made her confront her belief in mortality. She didn't share this with her book club, fearing pity or platitudes. She turned to Seneca, "Let us prepare our minds as if we'd come to the very end of life." She started writing letters to her kids, not about death but about what she valued: kindness, curiosity, courage. When a friend asked why she seemed so reflective, she said, "Just taking stock of things. What matters most to you these days?" That kept her focus on living, not explaining. What's one belief you can lean into to face life's big questions? The world's a howling wind, trying to uproot your convictions with every argument or trending hashtag. Stoicism is your shelter. General David Petraeus once said, "We are defined by what we do, not what we say." Your beliefs don't need a megaphone, they need action. If doubt's creeping in, try a 5-minute meditation. Sit still, breathe, ask what one truth keeps you steady. If someone probes, "What do you really think about?" insert divisive issue, don't take the bait. Say, "I'm still working it out. What's your take?" It's calm, it's kind, and it keeps your roots safe. What's one belief you can protect by living it quietly today? That's Stoicism, strong, silent, and yours to shape. 6. Your acts of kindness. Your acts of kindness are like seeds planted in the dark, quiet, unseen, but they grow into something that changes the world, starting with your own soul. The Stoics didn't do good to chase applause. They did it because it's what a life well lived demands. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Do everything as if it were the last thing you were doing in your life and stop being aimless." In a world obsessed with likes and retweets, shouting about your generosity risks turning it into a performance, not a principle. Keep it private and you keep it pure, free from the weight of others' envy or skepticism. Take a young barista I know, barely making rent, who started leaving anonymous care packages, socks, snacks, a handwritten note, for a homeless man near her coffee shop. She didn't post it on X or tell her coworkers. She leaned on Seneca's wisdom, "It is another's fault if he be ungrateful, but it is mine if I do not give." The act wasn't about recognition, it was about aligning her actions with her belief in human dignity. When a friend asked if she'd done anything heroic lately, she shrugged, "Just trying to spread some good. You got any stories?" That kept her focus on the act, not the spotlight. What's one small act of kindness you can do today just for the sake of doing it? Life's a forge, and kindness is the hammer that shapes your character through every trial. I met a veteran, haunted by years in combat, who found peace by quietly helping others. After losing a buddy to PTSD, he started mowing lawns for elderly neighbors, no charge, no fanfare. He'd read Epictetus, "What need is there to show off when you can show up?" Each push of the mower was his way of honoring his friend's memory, of proving he could still create good in a world that felt broken. When someone noticed his work and asked why, he said, "Just keeping the neighborhood nice." What's something you've done for someone lately? That deflection kept his heart steady. How can you turn a personal loss into a quiet act of good? 4 young Americans caught in the grind of building a life, student loans, late-night shifts, the pressure to make it. Kindness is your rebellion against cynicism. Author and entrepreneur Tim Ferriss says, "The world is changed by your example, not your opinion." You don't need money or time to make a difference. Try this. Leave a kind note for a coworker who's struggling, or pay for a stranger's coffee without sticking around for thanks. It's not about the gesture's size, it's about the intention. When someone asks if you're one of those do-gooders, sidestep, "I just try to keep things positive." What's a kind thing you've seen lately? What's one way you can show kindness today without expecting anything back? For those further along, maybe facing the emptiness of retirement or the sting of a health scare, Stoicism reminds you that kindness is a legacy. I know a retired nurse who, after a stroke left her sidelined, started knitting scarves for a local shelter. She didn't announce it at church or expect gratitude. She echoed Marcus Aurelius, "What is there in this that is unbearable and beyond endurance?" Her limitation wasn't a cage, It was a chance to give differently. When a friend asked why she was always so calm, she said, "Just keeping busy with small things." What's something you've done to lift someone up? That kept her purpose private and powerful. What's one way you can give even with your limitations to leave a mark? The world's a noisy storm, tempting you to flaunt your good deeds for validation. Stoicism is your anchor, urging you to act with quiet conviction. General Colin Powell once said, "The purpose of life is to help others, and if you can't help them, at least don't hurt them." If you're grieving, help someone else through their pain. It could be listening to a friend without judgment. If you're broke, offer a smile or a kind word. When someone pries, "You seem like you're up to something good. What is it?" Don't spill. Say, "Just doing my part to keep things bright." What about you? It's humble, it's smooth, and it keeps your kindness yours. What's one act of kindness you can plant today, unseen, to grow your soul? That's the Stoic way, silent, steady, and profoundly human. 7. Your future plans. Your future plans are like a map you draw in the quiet of your mind, each line a step toward the life you envision. They're fragile in their early stages, easily blurred by the winds of doubt or criticism. The Stoics understood this. Epictetus said, "First say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do." Broadcasting your dreams, a cross-country move, a bold career pivot, a personal milestone, invites unsolicited opinions that can shake your resolve. Keep them close and you keep your clarity, your fire, your path. Imagine a young coder, burning to leave her dead-end job and launch a freelance career. She didn't tell her colleagues, who might have scoffed, "Freelancing? Good luck with that instability." Instead, she leaned on Marcus Aurelius. "It is not death that a man should fear, but he should fear never beginning to live." She spent evenings building her portfolio, one client at a time, testing her plan in silence. When a friend asked what was next, she deflected, "Just figuring out my next move." What's your big plan? That shielded her vision from judgment. What's one future goal you can start building quietly today? Life's a river, and your plans are the boat you're crafting to navigate it. I know a 50-year-old teacher who dreamed of retiring to a small farm after losing his sister to illness. The loss clarified what mattered: land, simplicity, peace, but he didn't share it widely. He'd read Seneca, "You must live for another if you wish to live for yourself." He saved for the land, took farming classes, and planned in private, honoring his sister's memory through action. When neighbors asked about his future, he said, "Just taking it one day at a time." What's next for you? That kept his dreams safe from skepticism. What's one step you can take today to steer your boat toward your future? 4 young Americans, chasing dreams in a world of side hustles and skyrocketing costs. Stoicism is your compass. Entrepreneur Sarah Blakely, who built Spanx from nothing, says, "Don't let the world rush you. Your plan to start a business or move to a new city doesn't need a public debut. Try this. Write your goal on a note card, break it into 3 actionable steps, and tackle one this week. Maybe it's researching a market or saving $100. When someone asks, "What's your next move?" don't spill. Say, "Just working on some ideas." What's your next adventure? That keeps your focus sharp. What's one plan you can protect by breaking it into small, quiet steps? For those in life's later chapters, maybe eyeing a second act or grappling with health challenges, Stoicism offers resilience. I met a former nurse, 60s, planning to travel after a heart scare forced her to retire. She didn't announce it to her family, who might have fretted about her health. She leaned on Seneca, "The whole future lies in uncertainty. Live immediately." She budgeted for a modest trip, researched destinations, and prepared in private. When a friend asked about her plans, she said, "Just looking forward to what's next." What about you? That preserved her excitement. What's one dream you can start planning now, even if it's small? The world's a storm of opinions ready to blow your plans off course. Stoicism is your anchor. General Dwight Eisenhower said, "Plans are worthless, but planning is everything." The act of planning, quietly, deliberately, builds your strength. If you're plotting a career change, spend 10 minutes daily researching or networking, no fanfare. If someone asks, "What's next for you?" don't reveal your map. Say, "Just keeping my options open." What's on your horizon? It's smooth, it's private, and it keeps your fire burning. What's one future plan you can nurture today with one focused action? That's the Stoic way, steady, silent, and yours to shape. Life's a battlefield, but Stoicism equips you to face every challenge, grief, setbacks, dreams, with unwavering clarity and strength. You don't need to control the storm, only your response to it. Start today, pick one small action, Journal for 5 minutes, cut one distraction or plant a quiet act of kindness, and build your inner fortress. That's the Stoic way, fierce, deliberate, yours. If this resonates, hit that subscribe button, like this video, and join our community to keep mastering your mind and life. Share your thoughts in the comments. What's one Stoic principle you're applying today? Let's keep the conversation going and grow stronger together.